I'm back. No. That's fucking shit. No. Nah, fuck it.
Introducing the Rhinestone and Stud Setter. It changes everyday clothing into exciting fashions. Stylized jeans, jackets, pants. On leather, it's sensational.
Hello and welcome to episode 41 of What Am I Listening To and Why, the long-running record review show where I take a look back on the last 6 LPs that I've been listening to over the last couple of weeks. Now please remember, I'm not a music expert. I don't have all the facts at my fingertips about everything. I'm not even really very much interested in it. This is just a kind of sideways glance of what I felt immediately when I started listening to these records. It's just a bit of fun. Don't take it too seriously. And let's crash on with the first record.
There's a ghost in my house. It's the ghost of your memory and the ghost of the love you took from me.
I'm covering this up because the green on here will probably ruin my green screen effect. Record number 1 is The Damned with their latest album, I'm Not Like Everybody Else, which is their 13th album, and this came out this year. The Damned, as you probably know, are maybe the longest running UK punk band, and certainly the first punk band to get a record out in 1976 with New Rose. And it's probably the punk band that I've seen the most. I've probably seen them, at least I know a lot of people have seen them more, but I've probably seen them about 15, possibly 20 times in my whole life. This album is an album of covers, which I never thought I would see The Damned do. But it's been released as a tribute to their fallen comrade, Brian James, who died, I think, in 2025. And they rushed into the studio to make this as a tribute to him. It's supposedly a set of his most inspirational and favourite songs, given the kind of Damned treatment. And we all know what that is. The funny thing about it, when I put this record on, I kept cleaning it because I thought it had dust on it, but it's made of something called fucking sparkle vinyl, which is a black vinyl but with sparkles on it. But for all the world, it just looks like the record needs a fucking clean. So please, record companies, just stop, just make good presses of things and stop all this kind of stupid nonsense. It's no surprise that everything from this record is kind of late 60s, early 70s, as you think it would be. There's nothing obscure on here. It's all kind of Pink Floyd, Gimme Danger, When I Was Young, even the Rolling Stones the last time. So you'll not struggle and think, I don't know what any of this is. You'll recognise every one of these songs. They recorded it in Los Angeles, and it does have a kind of American feel, but I always think that The Damned have a kind of American feel anyway. It's a good step up from their last piece of nonsense, which was called Darkadelic, which I think I reviewed on here, which I just fucking found no joy in. But you know, The Damned, because they're so fucking great, they can occasionally be garbage. This is not garbage, but I'm not quite sure if it's fucking great. Yes. So, stop fucking around. What does it actually sound like? Well, to do this, I'm going to ignore the whole fucking tribute to Brian James thing, because then I'll be a little bit sort of, you know, I'll just forget that and just say I'm just listening to the record. Well, I was really excited to get this on the turntable. As I say, I didn't rate their last album much at all. And it kicks off with Ghost in the House, and then there's Gimme Danger, all that, and they're all good. You know, they're really, really sort of good versions. They even do See Emily Play by Pink Floyd, and they don't make a mess of anything. They all sound great, and it has a whole damnedness to it, and it's all enjoyable for that way. But in a sense, I'm not sure how much I want to listen to this album once I've heard it once or twice. You know, everyone's playing at the top of their game. Rat Scabies is back in the band. He's sounding fucking great. Captain Sensible gets to do all his crazy electric guitar playing. All the Dave Vane, you know, all the Damnedisms are there. But the fact that it's a covers album, it kind of wears out a little bit quicker than I'd hoped that it would. Part of me wonders that perhaps the label should have just brought out, shoot me if you want, they perhaps should have just brought out like a jukebox album of Brian James' favourite records done by the original artists. A lot of people are going to be annoyed by that. It's fine. It's fine, and that's all I can really say about it. I listened to it this morning before I did this just to make sure it was fine, and it was fine. But I've got to say, that's kind of all it is, and I think it'll probably gather dust a little bit on my show. I'll be reaching for the Black Album before I'm reaching for this any day soon. So I'm going to give it a fine but short-lived 5. Another bloody album with green on it, ruining my fucking green screen effect. I have to cover up. This is Gong, Flying Teapot from 1973, and this is their third LP. Gong have been going, and I think they're still going, since 1967. And can I just start off by saying, this and this kind of thing in my younger years is something I would have avoided at all costs. In my head, when I was a youth, bands like Gong, and specifically Gong, even without hearing them, I sort of relegated them to what I called the Druid music. It's always Druid music, played and liked by people in hats made of pastry, and great coats stinking of patchouli oil. And although that is kind of true, I sort of decided last year I should pull the trigger on it, because I thought maybe I'm missing out. Turns out I was missing out quite a lot, certainly with this record. They were part of something called the Canterbury scene. Now, I don't know about you, but when someone says to me, you should listen to them, they're part of the Canterbury scene, I'm fucking gone. At that point, I'm history. The Canterbury and scene is not something. It all sounds horrifically hey nonny nonny. So also, this is part of something called the Radio Gnome Trilogy. So you've got Gong, the Radio Gnome Trilogy, and the Canterbury scene. Oh my god, that all sounds absolutely dreadful. But it actually isn't. It's actually really fucking good. This album features Steve Hillage playing a little bit on guitar, and it's very, well, I guess at the time I figured it was very, very studenty, because it was my student friends who had Gong records, and even though I loved them dearly, I wasn't going to go near this. I thought to myself, I'll wait till I'm in the later part of my life, and you know what? I made the fucking right decision. I'm so glad that records like this got made. I can't imagine weird shit like this, the money going into them at any point in the world as it is now, because it's fucking desperately uncool, and it was desperately uncool in my youth, and it probably remains so. So, enough of your warbling, Pete. What does it actually sound like? Well, I got it home from the shop, and immediately I put it on, I went, yes. Yes, I fucking like this. I immediately liked it. It was all very speed vocals and blah, 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 and silly and just really out there. And it appealed to me fucking instantly. The psychedelic jazziness. And it's really well recorded. It's not like a hippie mush, which I thought it was going to be. There's no guitar, there's no horrific, huge long guitar solos or anything like that. It sounds a lot, to me, like an English pastoral, again, hey nonny, an English pastoral Zappa. And I mean Zappa and the Mothers Freak Out, we're only in it for the money era Zappa. They've definitely come, if they've not heard it, it's definitely come through the same artistic roots, definitely. This is not a party record. This is a headphones only, I think. Don't put this on at a party, because you will upset everybody, and definitely, this is for one-to-one. Headphones on the bus for this kind of thing is great. It's got a lot of squelchy, early 70s analog synths, which I love to hear. But it does suffer, and I knew it would. It does kind of suffer from a little bit of elongated orchestral jazzy workouts. Not hugely, but there is a sort of, there's like a, I don't know, there's a 10-minute track on here, and I'm like, oh, fuck. But that's all. I have 2 Gong LPs. I have this one and another one called You, and this one is vastly superior. So if you're thinking about getting into it, I would say get the Flying Teapot album. It's a good entry album. Not that I know what the other ones are like, but I'm saying this is a good entry album because this is, you know, the first one that I got. Tracks to listen to: Pothead Pixies. I mean, this is a drug record. There is no fucking two doubts about it. And I'm not advocating that you do drugs, kids. I'm absolutely not. But I'm just saying drugs have been taken before, during, and after the making of this thing. That is certainly for true. And there's a great song called Have a Cup of Tea, which will really make you laugh. And it really made me laugh. It's so much better than I thought it was going to be. And I hope this isn't their best album, because I hope there's more better to come for me listening, but I've got a funny feeling that it might be. So yeah, Gong, Flying Teapot from 1973. I'm going to give it a very positive, mind-expanding 7. Record number 3 is the Brothers Ramone and their 1980 album, End of the Century. Now, I'm just going to kick off here and say, no one is a bigger fan of the early Ramones than me. The greatness of those first 4 Ramones albums, Leave Home, Rocket to Russia, the other 2, are just, for me, they're peerless, they're fantastic, they're as good as that kind of genre of music gets. And so when this came out, I was fucking so excited to get hold of it and to play it and to fall in love with it like I had done with the other records. But unfortunately, this fucking record is where, for me, the Ramones, when the wheels really started to come off the bus, which is unfortunate. You can't talk about this record without talking about Phil Spector, the wire-haired, nutty as a fruitcake record producer from the 1970s, famous for his wall of sound and wall of fucking nonsense and wall of all sorts of trouble. He wanted to make a record with the Ramones almost immediately that he had anything, saw them or had anything to do with them. Back in 1977, he was hanging around like a bad fucking smell in the CBGB's dressing room, the CBGB's dressing gown, and he wanted to produce them then, but they just did not want to know, and they were right not to want to know. But for some reason, in 1980, he pops up again. They've got Marky, the new drummer in the band, and for some reason he ends up producing this. He told them, I can make you huge stars. And you know what? That kind of makes sense. It feels like he could make them huge stars. He was that kind of guy. If Phil Spector can't make the fucking Ramones sound good, then I don't know who could. The problem lies in the fact that they are completely different entities. The Ramones like to work really fucking fast and get it done. Phil Spector is like a crazy, crazy perfectionist where every minute thing has to be gone over 10,000 times, and the two of those things just do not work together. So the actual making of the fucking record was incredibly chaotic and frustrating for the band and probably for Phil Spector.
Well, working with Phil is very difficult because I guess he's a perfectionist, so he likes to spend a lot of time redoing things and re-listening, and it's very time-consuming.
The stories of the making of this record are legendary. Phil Spector rerunning the opening chord to one of the songs. Stop the tape, rewind. Stop the tape, rewind. Apparently that went on for about 3 or 4 hours till the band who was sitting on the sofa were driven insane. he tried to mix some of it whilst holding a pistol on the band at one point, apparently, which is just, I can't imagine Johnny Ramone putting up with that. And indeed he didn't. In fact, at one point, they all got up and fucking walked out. Johnny says he doesn't know who's on this album, but it isn't the Ramones. Now, I don't know if I believe that, but I still think, obviously it was a nightmare.
He wasn't the most friendly guy I've ever met. He tried to be friends, but then he had a guns on him, and he wouldn't let me out of his house for a couple days, and he wouldn't let. And then if he said if you want to play his pinball machine, he'd let you play it for a minute, and then he'd say, okay, everybody to another room. And I never met anyone like him.
This album cost in 1980 over £200,000 to make. £200,000. I don't know what the first album cost, about $70, and it's superior in every single way. Yeah, that's like over £1 million in today's money. It's just absolutely fucking ridiculous. So, after all of that shamoli, what does it actually sound like? Well, the opening track, which is Do You Remember Rock and Roll Radio? There's no getting away from it, is absolutely fucking fantastic. It sounds like you've got every dollar of that $200,000 was well spent. It really is an incredible sounding record. But after that, everything sounds absolutely fucking garbage. I don't know if Phil Spector got, I'm bored now, or what the fuck happened, but it all starts to sound it doesn't start to sound, it sounds woolly, lame, half-assed. It's absolutely incredible. And yet, the whole point of this record was to sort of make them a really commercial band that would sell lots of records, and that does not fucking sound like it at all. They even made them take their trademark leather jackets off for the sleeve. That's how hard they were trying. So I can't actually believe it. This record sounds like you're listening to it with your head in a fucking fish tank full of water. It's that bad. They remastered it. It sounds a bit better, but really, it's no good. They did have the biggest hit single, Baby I Love You, is on this, the old Ronettes track, but probably the less said about that, the better. There are good songs on here. There are quite a few Chinese rocks, and yeah, there's good songs on here, but it's like the whole thing's been put through a fucking joy extraction filter, if such a thing exists. It's terrible. They broke their fucking formula, their writing and recording formula, to go and work with a huge name producer like Phil Spector, but that was a mistake they were never going to make again, because it's just a below par Ramones album in every way. So sadly for Ramones end of the century, it's a hey ho, oh no! 4.
Hey, if you're watching and enjoying this video, please do me a favour and share it around. It's only a click of a button. For Christ's sake, don't make me come down there, eh?
Escape from this sticker tape. God, I'm underground. Oh yeah.
Brought. Bros. The time, 1989. This is their. Hold on a minute. Okay. Bros. The Time. This album's called The Time. This is their second album from 1989. Now, as second albums go, I mean, if talented, credible bands struggle to make a decent second album because they've used up all their good material in the first album, you can only imagine the depths that this fucking album goes to with this pair of fucking boneheads. It's absolutely terrible. Bros were like a teen phenomenon in the 1980s, and like all teen phenomenons, their star shone oh so bright for not very long and was snuffed out quickly. And like all teen kind of phenomenon, I can't say that word now, teen bands like this, they laboured under the impression that it would all go on for ages, and that the record company and their management and all that kind of thing were all on their side, and they're fucking absolutely not. As I say, they arrived in 1988 looking like they'd been created, originally a three-piece, looking like they'd been created by the fucking Nazi party. Very Aryan stuff. And they quickly realised they had to get rid of the third guy, the bass player, as he spoiled the whole aesthetic. And then they could get on with conquering the world. The problem was that really, when their fucking gravy train ended, Bros, and I'm going to kind of speak in their defence here, when it was all over for Bros, their fucking fall from grace was as hard and brutal as even possibly the Bay City Rollers' fall from grace. Nobody was on their side at all, and that's really, really wrong. All Matt and Luke got at the end of it, not realizing that they were paying for everything from the fucking helicopters and the video shoots and the fucking the catering on the video. They were paying. They didn't know they were paying for all of it. And what happened at the end of the band is, when this didn't work out, they were left with the fucking debt of £1 million between them. Now imagine being 21 or 20 or whatever and trying to step out into the world owing £1 million before you even start. It's actually fucking crazy when you think about it, because all they had done is generate tons and tons of money for loads of record company executives and fucking shareholders and all that. And then at the end of it, when they're done and they get fucking wrung out, they get saddled with a fucking debt, and everybody else walks away with a fortune. Stories of their cars being repossessed when they're sitting in their houses, and they lost their houses, they lost all their possessions, they lost absolutely everything. Now, what I don't understand, and I would say the same about the fucking Bay City Rollers, but I'm not talking about the music here, I'm just talking about just human decency, is if you can get a couple of young guys and you manage to generate £20 million, why do you have to destroy them in the end? Why is it when it's all over, they have to be left with nothing? Less than nothing, in massive debt. Couldn't they have left them with £1 million and say, look, it's over, boys, off you go? But no. They leave them with, as I say, less than nothing. And that's, I mean, this is what happens when you've got no independent legal representation when you sign a record deal. You know, you don't know what you're doing because you're fucking 19 years old. Matt and Luke, they didn't even know the difference between gross and net. That's how bad that was. You know, young boys saddled with massive debts after generating a load of money for old men. It's fucking criminal. But let's put that to one side and ask ourselves, what does it sound like? Well, I've got to say, this is the weakest pop, probably the weakest pop music I've really heard in a long time. Fucking Boyzone sound like Discharge compared to the shitty lameness of this fucking record is absolutely shocking. The relentless drum machine, the relentless drum programming on this thing is fucking crazy. I don't understand it, because this cunt is supposed to be a drummer. What the fuck's going on? There are no songs. There are literally no songs. There's a single they brought out called Too Much Chocolate Box. And it's so funny because they've even written it on the hype sticker. Includes Too Much Chocolate Box. Like that's a thing! It's not a thing! It's fucking bollocks. There is nothing on this record. This record is desperate for an identity. At times it sounds like a Timu Michael Jackson. He's doing all the Michael Jackson sort of hee-hees and all that. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's actually got some social commentary. What's the song? God, there's a drug song. There's a drug song called Streetwise, right? Which in the middle of it goes into Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel's White Lines. Don't do it. It actually fucking does that. What the living fuck? It's it's incredible. I don't know who was writing this. I don't know if they were writing it. I suspect they weren't. But it's absolutely fucking desperate and really, and I don't say this lightly, it is one of the worst pieces of fucking bollocks I've ever heard. They had no success in the I think it went to number 4 in the UK for about 10 minutes or something, but America was not interested in this, and America were completely right. I would say, I'm probably the only person in the world who's actually listened to this album in the last 2 years. I'm prepared to say that I am the only person, apart from maybe members of the band, who's actually heard this. Yeah, it's unbelievably depressing. And as such, I'm going to do the unthinkable here and give it a very rare 0. Oh God.
Fathers are cackling in trees of the forest. Our mother is dead in the sea. You know we are being led to slaughters by placid admirals, and that fat, slow generals are getting obscene on young blood.
Record number 5 is Jim Morrison and the Mighty Doors with American Prayer. This is the 9th Doors album, kind of. Released in 1978. Now, you could successfully argue that this is not really a Doors record. And it is, and it isn't, because it was released 9 years after Jim Morrison died. Interesting side note before I carry on with this. Did you know that Jim Morrison, he died in 1970, and the band didn't split till 1973, and one of the replacements that they had for Jim Morrison was Iggy Pop was in the Doors, and he toured with them, and someone said to me once, yeah, he insisted that everyone call him Jim on that tour. Iggy Pop's name is Jim, so I don't know. But yeah, Iggy Pop was in the Doors, there you go. Anyway, back to what I was saying. This was released 9 years after Jim Morrison died, and it actually was put forward for a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Album of that year. So that tells you something. This is not exactly a Doors album. This is basically music by the rest of the Doors set to Jim's frankly slightly cringeworthy poetry. Now that sounds terrible, doesn't it? Oh my God, that's going to be awful. But really, it's actually not. I'm going to be honest. I make no bones about it. I absolutely love this record. I really, really do. But that may say more about me and where my life, I got into this album, oh God, in my mid-20s, maybe says more about me and where my life was than how good it actually is. Though I'm gonna stand up for it. It's again another unashamedly drug album. There is no getting away from it. Don't take drugs, kids, but if you do, you should probably put this on. What makes it great? Well, because it's not just like poetry and with music, it's much more of a weave. What the band have done is it's so well done. It doesn't feel like a cynical money grab or anything like that. It feels like a fucking movie. It really feels like a movie, and it's so clever the way it weaves in and out, and it's hard to describe credibly, but I really adore it. Patti Smith, what did she say about it? She listened to it and she said that it contained certain flaws. Well, I've got to say, Patti, if anything contains certain flaws. Okay? So, what does it actually sound like? Well, okay. Morrison's poetry, it can be a bit cringe. I'd be silly to say that it wasn't. I think on its own it would be a bit cringe. But the way this is done, the way that it embeds with the music and moves in and out of how it's all put together, it doesn't sound like that. It sounds really fucking great, and I get a real sense, it's going to sound so pretentious, but I get a real sense of what the Doors are and what they're all about more from this album than I do from actual fucking Doors albums, if that makes any sense. I get the whole atmosphere is given to me on this in such an incredible way. And there's great chunks of this are I hadn't heard it for years when I listened to it recently, are burned into my head and they will never leave, you know. Indian, Indian, what did you die for? Indian says nothing at all. Yes, it's exactly like that. Some of the music bits, well, all the music bits are kind of famous. You'll have heard them all before. They're kind of rearranged and made to work around the words. And Jim Morrison's voice is beautifully recorded and sounds so evocative. Side 2 starts with a whole live track of the Doors doing Roadhouse Blues, and it's just a fucking amazing version. It's apocalyptic. It's scary, the world. It sounds like the end of the world, and it's absolutely adorable. But I'm going to say by Act 3, the sort of last maybe track or two of the record, I'm kind of done with it. It gets a bit morose and a bit fucking. I usually end up getting off my arse and taking the record off that point. But the first 3/4 of this record are absolutely superb, and even although it's not all, it contains Patti Smith certain flaws, I am going to give it a very lovable 8. The sixth and last LP on tonight's show is the Specials Live from the Cathedral, released in 2026. This is a triple live album recorded over 4 days in 2019 in the Specials' hometown of Coventry. It's a fucking massive thing. And I'm just going to say from the get-go, I was a huge Specials fan. They happened at just the right time for me in 1979. I was about 14 years old. I was slightly too young. I love punk, but I was slightly too young to be, you know, fully there as it was. But the Specials, they landed at exactly the right time for me, and they were exactly the right thing. And I was immediately, the whole two-tone thing, not just the Specials, I was immediately swept away in the whole thing. And you could go and buy a fucking Trilby hat from Oxfam, and you were there. You were there, the Crombie and Trilby, and you were there. It was a fantastic, fashion-wise and music-wise, the whole two-tone thing was just fucking wonderful. But of that, the Specials were the best of it all. They were the originators of that movement. They were they had the best songs. They were the most exciting live band. Never saw them. And they were unapologetically political, which is great, and that's something. People struggle. I see it all the time. People fucking struggle with bands being political these days. They get all upset about it. Just play the music! Especially, it's a lot of Americans. Hey, we don't want your politics. Just play the music. We want music, not politics. It's like, fuck off and listen to your Division Bell album then, if that's what you want. Music has always been about politics. Art has always had lots of fucking politics. That's why politicians are so fucking scared of art, because it's so fucking powerful and it's just the medium for it. So if you're out there going, oh, stop the pop, just play the songs, fuck off, okay? Just fuck off. Apparently, this will be the final record released with the Specials name at the top, which is sad, but I think it's also quite right. There's been so many different versions of the Specials over the years. With who's in, I'm always wondering when something comes out with the Specials, who's in and who's out, you know. And there's a lot of big kind of names missing from this, unfortunately, but either they're not in the band or they've passed away. I don't understand why Jerry Dammers, if this was the final hurrah, I don't know what the internal politics of the Specials are, but I don't understand why. It seems a shame that Jerry Dammers, of all people, is not on this. The Specials' actual heyday, when you look back on it, was kind of short. It was like the first album was, I always call it the Ska Nevermind the Bollocks, and that's what it is. The first album came out, it was fucking amazing, absolutely explosive, everything exploded. The second Specials album came out, it was pretty good, but it wasn't as good as the first album. And then suddenly, from what I can see, Jerry Dammers wants to do different things. He wants to do fucking lift music, and boom, it's fucking all over. And everyone's left kind of floating, and you've got the Fun Boy 3 and all that. And it's very, very short. I would call it 1.5 LPs, which is a great shame. So this is what's so great about this coming out. It's a brand new thing, and it's a treble. It's substantial. This is a substantial thing, and you want to get the vinyl because it's like a whole gig. Anyway, P, what does it actually sound like? First off, I've got to say, this is not the rabble-rousing, crowd invasion, hysterical, manic, fucking full-on blast of the 1979 Specials. It isn't that. If you're expecting that, you're not going to get that. These people are in the main grandfathers, and I think we've got to remember a lot of these people were pushing, I don't know, 60s, possibly 70, I don't know at the time, and so you don't have that big rabble-rousing sort of Moonlight Club thing. But what you do have, I mean, what is there is a sort of confidence and power that comes of age, and you do get with this album. And the sound of it, the recording, is fucking great. The Specials on this and sort of later, records, they have a ghostly ambience, an ethereal fucking floating ambience that it's really hard to explain, but it's really wonderful, and it's all over this record. Even when they play the early stuff, somehow it has that ghostly ambience, which I absolutely love. Every era is covered in here. They do songs from their, 4 or 5 albums, including the cover album, and they even do that Fun Boy 3 track, The Lunatics Have Taken Over the Asylum, with the Specials treatment, and it's absolutely fucking great. It's probably one of the high points of the whole record. But I've got to say, this record is nothing but high points. Boom, 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 boom. There's not a meh moment on it, man. It starts great and it ends fantastic. It's just fucking great, and if you should have this. Everyone should have this record. Of course, as I say, there's missing characters. The band are fucking amazing, but it's not the original band. Let's remember that. There's plenty of other people who are in there, but it's still, everything is a highlight, and it's great to go out on a high with a full hour 45, and you will love every fucking minute of this. And I can't praise it high enough. I love it, and it gets the fucking what am I listening to and why very rare full 10. Thank you very much for the show. I'm sorry it took so long. The next one will probably take just as long, so don't fucking come to my evil gate. I'll see you next time when I can be arsed to make one. Much love. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Mindbender.